Mburu Machua TV, kemenyithia gya kihoto gyaku. Mburu Machua TV, your rights well served.
Good evening to you all. Thank you for joining us today at Mburu Machua TV. I'm honored to hold one of the most intelligent wakili. We have Mumbi Kagwe, who's going to educate us more on family law. I'm your host today, Paris Chege. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Mburu Machua TV.
Thank you.
Introduce yourself to our viewer. Say hi to them.
Good evening, everyone. I'm glad to be here. My name is Mumbi Kagwe, and you're welcome to this show.
So we'll dive right into today's questions. And so far, we are getting concerned about family law and how people don't understand about family and marriages. So can you kindly tell us what is family and what is marriage according to Kenyan law?
Thank you very much. That's a good question, because nowadays people are getting a lot of contradiction between understanding what is family, what is marriage, when are you in a marriage, when are you not in a marriage. And under the Kenyan Constitution, or rather how we define a family, it is a unit that has either a parent or parents and kids. That means when you have a mother, a father, and kids, that's a family. When you have a father, that is probably a single father, and kids, that's also a family. Mm-hmm. When you have a mother who is probably a single mom, that's still a family, including the kids. Yeah. And when you talk about a marriage, as it is defined in the Marriage Act, marriage is whereby there's a union between one man and one woman. And normally it is celebrated in different ways, because in Kenya we have various types of marriages. And to go deeper, we have Christian marriages. Those are conducted in churches, maybe like in Catholic Church or ACK, that is Anglican churches, or a Pentecostal church. There, when you do a wedding that is presided over by your pastor, that is a Christian marriage. Mm-hmm. Then we have a customary marriage, or African customary marriage, which refers to a marriage that is done under a different culture. Or maybe a certain community has their own traditions, so it is normally celebrated according to their different cultures. Then we also have civil marriages. Civil marriages are the ones that you go to the AG's office. You simply need witnesses, and then you present yourself, a man, a woman, then you go and you have your wedding celebrated there, and you're done.
And Wakili, how does Kenyan law define marriages?
A marriage, as I had said earlier, under the Constitution, we say a marriage is normally what is recognized under our Constitution is a monogamous marriage. Okay. That is whereby you have one man and one woman. So polygamous marriages, you'll find them in our customary marriages. That is where you're likely to find people doing polygamous marriages. Yes.
So what are the characteristics of the above-said marriages? Of the five, I think there are 5 different types of marriages. What are their characteristics according to the Kenyan law?
Most of them are characterized by a union of a man and a woman. The difference is, like I had said, in African customary marriage, you'll find it is dictated by different cultures. So you'll find a marriage celebrated in a Christian marriage is different from African customary marriage, probably because of different cultures that are being practiced by, let's say, Maasai community, or let's say another community that is allowed to do to either go where a man is allowed to marry more than one wife. That you won't find in churches. You won't find a church that is celebrating or is officiating a union with more than one wife. Yeah. So those are the only differences. So whereby a culture is determining the marriage.
So, according to our law, one cannot get two wives. Like according to Kenyan law, we get to have like it's polygamous. Yes, it's legal in Kenya, but you get to see you're married. Yes, you have a marriage certificate, but you want to marry another wife. Can you get a marriage certificate for the same?
No. You're not allowed to have. You cannot obtain two marriage certificates because if you do so, you'll be committing a crime known as bigamy. That is, if you want to marry a second person, unless now you have your married or you go through a divorce, so that now you're not you're not tied or you're not bound by any union. Yeah. So then you can transform your union from a monogamous marriage to polygamous marriage. Otherwise, if let's say a man is married, they have one wife, then you go get another lady and you want to go and marry them. If the other marriage is still subsisting, then you're committing bigamy. So you have to have that other marriage dissolved through a court process because you can't just leave that lady and then or leave that man and say that we separated or something like that. You have to go through the court process. If you had done your wedding, either through Christian marriages or through a civil marriage, you have to go obtain dissolution from the court. Okay. Then from there on, you can proceed and do. You now, or rather, you move from monogamy to polygamy by dissolving the other marriage, the union first, so that now you can be allowed to do a polygamous union. Yes.
So when one is married, we expect a lot from a married couple, and even a partner expects a lot from his or her partner. So what rights and duties does one have in marriage?
That's a good question. In a marriage, you're as a man or as a wife, for a marriage to be subsisting, there are things that you need to be doing. First of all, like consummation of a marriage, it can only be done when there's a man and there's a woman. And in case there's no such, you're not consummating your marriage, then ideally there's no marriage that is existing, and you can actually go and apply for nullification of the marriage, because that is one of the reasons why people get into a union of marriage. Yes.
Now, can one get into marriage when his or her is underage? Like, what's the eligibility of being in a marriage?
There are several ways, or rather, there are several categories, because you cannot consider children or anyone who is below the age of 18 years old to be married. Yeah, that cannot be recognized as a marriage in Kenya. So you have this what we call capacity, and this requires age. Until you get to the age of 18, that is the only time you're allowed under the Kenyan law to get married. Secondly, you need to be of sound mind, such that I wouldn't get married or someone else cannot get married if they are insane, because we would be assuming, or it is presumed, that you're not in any mental capacity to enter into a union of marriage. Thirdly, you cannot enter into a marriage if there's another marriage existing, as I had mentioned. So if there's another pre-existing union, then you cannot try to enter into another union where the other one is still in existence. Yes.
So in most cases, we find a separated family, and we consider the separated family as a divorced family. So maybe you can explain to us the difference between separation and then separation and divorce.
Thank you. What we mean by separation, or rather, it is very clear. Separation is where you're doing a temporary, like you're giving each other a break, such that if, let's say, a man and the woman are going through a tough time and they decide, let's take a break, we need to mend some things, then they can take a break temporarily, and then they can decide, once we have been able to solve this, then can still proceed with our union. But for a divorce is permanent. It is done in court through a court procedure, and even for a divorce to take place, you have to prove certain grounds that you're going to discuss later. And still this time that you have to prove to the court that you guys have been in this union for a period not less than 3 years. Otherwise, if you are to approach courts and say that you need to divorce and you just married the other day, or you're just a month or 2 months old in your marriage, then the courts won't allow that.
Oh, yes. So we want to discuss about the grounds of divorce later. We are going to discuss it now because it was just my next question. So we are discussing the grounds of divorce right now. Yeah? For a divorce to be successful, what are the qualifications to want to get divorce?
As I had mentioned, divorce is way permanent. We don't intend for someone going through a divorce to go back on their words and say, I've undecided, or I want to go back to the union. Once you're divorced, then that's it. And by the time you're divorcing, by the time you're approaching court, you need to prove several, or one of the few grounds that are given, so that the court can allow you to proceed with the divorce. First of all, if one of the parties proves that their partner is adulterous, the court will grant a divorce. And how we do this, sometimes there are people who are hired, like private investigators, because by proving what we do in court, we don't go with assumptions. You have to bring concrete evidence to show that this thing happened. So in our case, as lawyers, what we do, we normally you'll ask your client, whoever is bringing an issue of maybe adultery, you have to bring there was a conversation going on between either the man or the wife, where there's evidence that there's something to do with adultery that has been going on, to stand as a ground of divorce. In instances of which is our second ground for divorce, insanity. That is whereby one of the partners in the union is having episodes of insanity, and once the other partner recognizes this is happening, you can always approach court and say, I didn't know this person was going through such episodes, but now because he's not of proper mental health, I'm seeking for a divorce, and the court will allow you. The other reason why a court can grant divorce is if one of the partners is engaged in bestiality. Automatically, if you're able to prove, and of course now you have to bring concrete evidence. So you have either to have a private investigator collecting the information for you, or collecting the evidence to present in court, because otherwise, by word of mouth, you can't just tell the court, I caught this person. You need to bring something that is showing this actually happened. Maybe the fourth reason why someone can approach court for divorce is I mentioned insanity, I mentioned bestiality, adultery. There's also mental and physical cruelty. That is whereby you find one of the partners is either as treating the other one in a Cold War. When you're treating your partner in an unwelcome way, you can still approach court and say, hey, look, this guy is either violent or my mental state is not okay, because we cannot proceed with this union because of this and this, I'm not able to continue this union.
And now tell us the grounds of nullification of marriage, because you've told us about what causes nullification of marriage. Now I want you to maybe briefly explain about the grounds of which a marriage can be nullified.
All right. As I had mentioned earlier, if a party marriage, that is a woman or a wife, discovers that the other partner is in another existing marriage, then they can apply for nullification of the same marriage. Secondly, if consent was not freely obtained, that is, we've seen cases of people who force girls to get married. So that means the girl never gave their consent to get married. So if there's such a case where consent was not freely gotten from one of the partners, then also that can be a ground for nullification of the same marriage. Also, if at the time of the celebration, we say how we explain marriage or the process of marriage, there has to be celebration. That means there are people who were there when you guys were being united, or there was that union of marriage. So there have to be witnesses. There has to be a presiding officer who is officiating over the union. And of course, now the parties who are doing the wedding. So if one of the partners is not there, because I've seen it happen, people obtaining certificates in absentia of the other partner, then also that is a ground for nullification, because one of the partners was not present at the time of celebration of the marriage. Yeah, so those are some of the few grounds that can lead to nullification of marriage in Kenya.
We've talked about the separation, we've talked about divorce, and we've talked about nullification of marriage. Yeah? Now, maybe kindly tell us about the difference between divorce and marriage nullification.
Between the three of them. Divorce, as I had said, divorce is a permanent separation, such that you won't, one of the parties won't go back and say, I want to go back to this person again. Once it is dissolved, it is totally dissolved. And it is an order given by the court, whereby you approach court through a petition. Then the other party who is now being divorced is required to, appear or respond to the petition, maybe giving reasons why they should be divorced or not. So once the petitioner, who is now the person approaching court for the divorce, once they are able to prove their grounds why they want the marriage dissolved, then the court will determine later by issuing an order that is called decree-nisi. And decree-nisi is just an interim order whereby once it has been confirmed after a month, then you're given a decree of absolute. That is now done. You won't go back again and say, I want to go back to my marriage.
Like Commission, Commission?
Yes, it's done. Separation, as we had said, it could be the parties have decided, we take a break. Then once we're able to solve whatever it is, whatever differences there are, then we can still go back to the union. Nullification, on the other hand, is where, according to law, in layman's language, the marriage never even existed, because there's one reason that made that union not be a proper union.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, in cases of divorce, how is child custody determined according to the Kenyan law?
Child custody normally is it's still also a proceeding that is done in court, depending if the parties are in agreement. Because we find other families who are able to have child custody done in a peaceful way without involving court or without going to children departments for that. But in case you're unable to settle on that, then the court comes in. And in Kenya, child custody is normally given to the mother for children who are of tender age. By tender age, we mean kids under 12 years and below, or rather 12 years going down. Those are considered as tender age. So those ones will be taken to the mom. However, there are exceptions whereby if the mom is found to be either involved in alcoholism or adultery, irresponsibility, then the court will award the parent who is fit to raise the kids. And of course, this has to be taken through the court process, because you have to show that this person is incapable of being in custody of the kids. And this comes from the court. In each and everything the court is doing about the kids, they always check on the best interest of the kids. So if it is fit for the kid to be with the dad because the mom is seen to be unfit, then the court will give custody to the father or to the mother, depending on the circumstances.
So what are the guidelines of sharing matrimonial properties after divorce?
Matrimonial property, there has been debates over it, because initially parties used to share or have property distributed equally, that is 50-50 share of matrimonial property. And by matrimonial property is the property that has been obtained during the existence of a marriage. So that is anything that a man and a wife got upon or after they got married. So that is what is considered as matrimonial property.
Okay.
But now what the courts are doing, they are checking each person's contribution towards the matrimonial property.
Okay.
So if it is seen a wife was contributing more to developing an estate or making better the family, then the court is likely to lean on the side of the person who is contributing.
So who is more entitled to the maintenance of after divorce? Who is more entitled to such cases?
Ideally, once parties are going through divorce and children custody and maintenance, those are matters that are still handled by the court, whereby you're given an opportunity for the both of you to agree. Let's say the husband is told you'll be paying school fees, you'll be providing medical care, then the wife will be buying clothes, buying food. But in case you're not able to agree, then the court will step in and dictate, for lack of a better one, or determine how and how much each person is going to contribute towards maintaining the kids. In some cases, we find parents who are even resigning from work so that they are completely not maintaining their family. But now, of course, the court will always give an order towards making sure that the kids are maintained and they are provided for.
Thank you so much, Wakili, for being with us today. We appreciate so much and we are honored. And maybe we can call you next time for you to explain us, to teach us more about succession law. Thank you all for being together with us. We are done today, and tomorrow we are going to be here with succession law. So don't go anywhere. We are coming together, Kesha. So stay tuned.
Mburu Machua TV, kemenyithia gya kihoto gyaku. Mburu Machua TV, your rights well served.